Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. I'm your host, the Fellow KGB. You can follow me on Twitter at the Fellow KGB. And today, Saturday afternoon, it's about 11:15 p.m. Central or a.m. Central Time. We're going to be going over our favorite player prop bets using DraftKings Sportsbook. We got the Fellow JGM here with us this morning. How's it going, Jesse?
Good morning. Last week of the regular season of fantasy football. Let's go.
It's bittersweet, but it's also like because everyone's got leagues that they're really good in, and everyone's got some leagues that are not so great. Cough, cough, my Dynasty 1-in-11 league. That one's not fun, but I don't know. It's fun to watch rookies. I think especially the rest of the way, like some rookies like Denzel Mims. You got some rookie running backs that we're keeping an eye on. Like, can Jonathan Taylor turn things around? So there's a lot of other things to watch, even though fantasy football might be ending for some people. But at least we got player props. We got DFS lineups. That's one of the cool parts about how fantasy football has evolved the last few years. So we are going to be looking at the DraftKings Sportsbook. We're going to take a little different approach in this one tonight or this afternoon. We'll be starting with looking at the over-unders and the total points totals here, and just kind of looking at the games from a bird's eye view, and then we'll kind of dive in and break out some of the numbers here. The reason was because DraftKings they're slowly putting up their prop bets now, whereas maybe a month ago they would pretty much upload all the games except one or two, and now they're kind of just slowly trickling in some of our favorite player props here. So we're going to hop into a screen share here, and let's just take a look at some of these over unders here, and we're going to see how, I don't know, let's just see what what they're thinking these total point totals are going to be for tomorrow. So I guess the first game on the slate here, this one means a lot to you. So it's Colts Texans. How do you think this one's going to go? We got Will Fuller out, as well as Bradley Roby, which I don't think a lot of people are taking notice of. I'm really into Philip Rivers this weekend. So as a resident Colts fan here at the Fellow Show, how are you thinking this Colts Texans game goes? It's an over under of 51 total points.
Yeah, I think this game does not set up well for Houston. DeForest Buckner is back. D'Amico Autry is back. The Colts defense is getting back to full strength, and the Texans lost Will Fuller, Randall Cobb, and Kenny Stills all in a matter of 2 weeks. How do you replace three of your top four receivers,
They're feeling about letting Kenny Stills go 2 weeks before Fuller last receiver test positive.
Yeah, they're not feeling good. There's morals. They get David Johnson back. Confetti, but
it works. But you're also going against the best run defense maybe here with Buckner back.
Yeah, I think the Titans last week, people might be like, "Oh man, Derrick Henry gashed them. Maybe they're not as good as we think." You got to remember, Buckner was out that game. He's back. So I think it's Derrick Henry too. It's Derrick Henry, and at the end of the year, he's going to do his thing. So I'm not really liking the Texans a lot in this game. I think we could see this be a controlled game by the Colts, rotating all three of their backs, maybe trying to get Jonathan Taylor going again this game. Houston's not very good against the run. They're also going to be terrible against the pass, especially as you mentioned with Roby out. I don't know. This might be like a JT get right game. Like, hey man, let's try and get you back on track. I'm a little interested in that aspect of the game.
It feels like to me the Colts offense is going to be able to do whatever they want. And even though we think of this team as a heavy run team, Philip Rivers has been attempting a lot of passes. He sometimes sits in the 35 to 40 range. Sometimes he goes over 40. And just in the last few weeks, they've had really competitive games against the Packers and the Titans, and that's kind of forced them to open up and throw a little bit. So Philip Rivers has 3 straight games of around 300 yards. He's got 6 touchdowns in the last 3 games. He's got T.Y. Hilton scoring touchdowns finally, and Michael Pittman Jr. is doing things. Trey Burton's doing things. I think I might be interested in some of the touchdown props there, but this is a really fun game here. The Texans, though, they're going to be pesky because I think Deshaun Watson still he's playing as good as football as anybody. If you gave him a proper roster, like a really good receiver, I can't think of one off the top of my head. But if he had a certain receiver back, this team might be a little bit better than they are right now. But at 51, we'll be interested in this game a little bit, and I do think they uploaded a lot of those player yards and props. So we will be interested in that one. This Raiders-Jets game, they don't have any player prop. I didn't see anything for this one yet. Just maybe a quick 1 or 2 thoughts here on this 46 over-under here. Raiders are away minus 8.5 in this one. Heavy favorites here on the road. No Josh Jacobs. I guess a fantasy spin on this one because we're probably not going to be able to talk much about the props. Maybe we look at some of the, I don't know, we'll look at something. But I'm very excited about what Devontae Booker can do in this one. What do you got for Raiders Jets?
Yeah, I think no Jacobs opens the door for Booker. A little bit of Rashard. But if you've seen the Rich Rebar's tweets out there, you've seen that without Josh Jacobs, they feature one guy. That was DeAndre Washington. He was there, and he had some amazing stretches of games for you. That was last year and the year before.
Over like 20 points.
Yeah. I mean, he had over 20 touches in the 3 games Jacobs missed. So I think we're going to get a heavy dose of Booker. Do not be afraid to plug him in as a fringe, probably running back 1. He's probably like a high-end RB2. I'm interested in this game from the Jets side and the fact that the Raiders tend to – you don't know what you're going to get from the Raiders. They come in, they beat the Chiefs, and then they get demolished by the Browns. Could this be a game where the Raiders play down to the Jets and we see an actual game where maybe Sam Darnold actually takes advantage of his weapons in a weak secondary and the Raiders? Could be kind of interesting. Could be fun. What was that? I saw the Brashad Perriman. What's a Brashad Perriman touchdown look like this week?
Plus 260.
I kind of feel that this week.
Denzel Mims has better odds, man.
I know. They like Mims a little. Mims.
I don't know if you saw, but like I tweeted out a thing yesterday where someone made a cut up of all his targets from last week against Miami. And I mean, he was shadowed by pretty much the whole time with Xavier Howard. But Sam Darnold took some deep shots down to him. I mean, there's one touchdown that he give him another chance, and that's like a 50-50 kind of ball where he could get that the next time, but he was surrounded by 2 or 3 defenders. So they took one really good deep shot to him. And then there was another one where he actually got called for offensive pass interference. But Xavier Howard was like in front of him and he kind of slowed up and Denzel had to kind of jump on his back to like reach for it. And it was so close. Like it would have been, even if it was pass interference, it would have been a sick catch because he basically like crawled up his back and tried to reach for it. So they're scheduling deep shots to him to get him into the end zone, and he hasn't scored yet. He's been, I don't know, he had I think a career high yards last week and it was in the 60s or 70s. Right. So he's definitely a guy I'm keeping an eye on. I wish they could upload his yardage totals because if it's in the 50s, I'm liking this one.
Definitely.
But as far as what's going to happen in this Raiders game, I mean, Booker's scoring 1 touchdown, right?
Yeah, for sure. He's going to get into the end zone.
It's minus 143, but I don't know where I have to look. But if they're – because, I don't know, just the last couple of weeks we've been texting about, like, some funny, like, okay – I've been putting like $1 or $2 down on like 2 TDs or 3 TDs, guys, just to, you know, sometimes you hit like a plus 1,500 odds and you turn $1 into 15 or something like that. Booker, I think, has a really good potential for 2 touchdowns this week.
Yeah. I can't disagree with that. I mean, the Raiders are going to be able to move the ball. The question is, will the Jets be able to move it as well to the point where it's game? And I think we might be surprised by Darnold this week.
And as far as the Jets' schedule, just looking at this is their last chance to avoid, I think, being a winless 0-16 season. Going here at home against the Raiders, they go to the Seahawks, they go to the Rams. They get to play the Browns at home, but I think at that point in the season, week 16, the Browns need that game.
Yeah.
And they're just going to be able to play small ball and run it with Chubb and Hunt in that game. It should be a very similar recipe to what the Raiders do tomorrow. Pound the ball, run the ball 30-plus times, and then the Patriots here. Maybe they do something crazy against the Patriots, but I'm not taking Gase over Belichick in that one. So this Raiders game, you get the Raiders coming off a 43-6 game against Atlanta. They got housed by Atlanta. Nobody does that, and yep. I don't know. I'm open to the idea of seeing the best New York Jets with Sam Darnold tomorrow, but I don't know. We'll kind of move on to the next game here. Cleveland Browns, Tennessee Titans. This is a bummer too because it's the highest over/under point total at 53. But all they have for us, I believe, is passing yards. Not even passing yards.
No, we don't even get Baker under, man.
So we don't even have touchdown passes in this one.
Do we have touchdowns?
We don't have rushing yards. We don't have receiving yards. I'll hit refresh at some point, maybe like a half hour down the line. But super disappointing. I think this game, both teams 8-3. As far as like the noon slate, I think this one's the most appealing to me to like, hey, I want to watch that game as a whole. I just think we're going to see a lot of Derrick Henry, a lot of Nick Chubb. These two teams really mirror each other really well. I just think Ryan Tannehill versus Baker, that's kind of the difference between the two. Tannehill's probably got a little bit more upside with his receivers, A.J. Brown, Corey Davis. Jonnu Smith to be out. So I've been telling people all week that I really like try to get Corey Davis in your lineup this weekend because we know the Browns are going to be without Denzel Ward, which automatically we like A.J. Brown. But with no Jonnu Smith, I think I'm going to be super interested to check back and see what the Corey Davis line is because he's a pretty good player. I know it's low volume, but again, Jonnu Smith out. We're going to like A.J. Brown. We're going to like Corey Davis. Tannehill should have a good game, and then Derrick Henry should be the workhorse there. And then on the Brown side, you did note that there was a handful of like third and fourth receivers out. So they're pretty much just down to Jarvis Landry and Rashard Higgins. So I think once those lines get put in, we should, probably look at that or talk about it on the Twitter machine.
Yeah, I'm thinking Austin Hooper. I mean, tight end's already a wasteland, so Hooper is probably a guy that you're like you drafted him with high expectations and he's let you down. But this is a week where you're thinking, all right, could be a top 5 play.
This is all we got for this game right now. Touchdown odds real quick, minus 286 for King Henry. AJ Brown minus 106. I don't mind that. You just put a 10 piece on that, minus 106. That should be a decent return. Nick Chubb minus 115. These guys are the chances of all three of these dudes scoring very strong. Corey Davis plus 135, Kareem Hunt plus 135. Landry blew up last weekend.
Yeah.
That as soon as you said Hooper, I was like, I got to see what his touchdown odds are. Plus 240. That's not too shabby.
That's not bad.
And when you just think about their players, like they're going to throw the ball to Landry.
Who's their red zone target? Maybe Harrison Bryant, 525 down there. That could be spicy.
The one thing I noticed about Harrison Bryant, he had 2 fumbles last weekend, so I'm going to be interested to see what his confidence meter is this
also, I saw Adam Humphries down there. A little interested by that with no Jonnu. Maybe they run more 3 wide receiver sets.
So do we see Hooper go on a touchdown streak? I mean, the target volume is really alarming to me, 2-5-2 the last 3 games here. But a touchdown last weekend, again, we could just put a little wager on him to score a touchdown. But that could be the spot there with Austin Hooper plus 240. And then
my guess is the targets are low, but the targets are probably high value targets. I can't confirm that, but I'm guessing, these are some red zone looks. These are some end zone looks. So he's getting not high volume, but the right looks. So if you're looking for the touchdown odds, it's kind of what you want anyways. And again, I mean, if you're not running the ball with Chubb and Hunt, who are you looking for in the end zone? Probably the big body. They don't really have those big body receivers.
I'm very interested in the future prospects of Harrison Bryant as a tight end because
he's good.
He's getting run over David Njoku right away. Yeah. That's really interesting.
Poor David.
He might be a guy that we talk about quite a bit next year. But I just wanted to see real quick. Adam Humphries is back, full participant the last 3 days of practice here. I think he's been on the COVID list, and he also had a concussion kind of thing going on. So that's good to see him back. This might be a really good Ryan Tannehill game then if he gets his best 3 receivers. I know no Jonnu Smith, but I do think this game could get out of hand with the scoring. We could see a little fun action here in this game again.
Yep. Vrabel also did say, quote, Derrick Henry needs to get more involved in the passing game. This week, he said that. So that's just padding stats for Tannehill. That's padding stats for Henry. Derrick Henry's gonna win some leagues.
Curious, they don't have any passing stats here.
We have nothing for that game, so we can move on to the next one as far as props go.
This is the highest over/under point total here for the week. We do think that this game could have a lot of potential. Mm-hmm. A shout out to our guy Patrick Sig. Thanks for hanging out, man. Let us know in the comments if you guys have any questions on certain games. If you guys want to know any thoughts on any prop bets or certain players. We'll move on here to the Bengals and the Dolphins. I don't give a crap about this game. It's 42.5. I think this is the lowest over/under as far as the week goes.
Yep.
Is there anything on this here for props real quick?
I think we got I don't think we have because Fitzpatrick hasn't named a starter in Miami, so I don't think there's anything for Miami.
Right.
Myles Gaskin should be activated today. I do like him if he is activated because there's no other running back on that roster except for two Fumblerooski Patrick Laird. Mm-hmm. So he's going to come right into a full – he has been practicing the last 2 weeks. It's not like he's limping into this game. He's going to be like close to 100%. So Myles Gaskin, if you got him in fantasy, you've been sitting on him for this long, you're firing him up probably as your RB2.
Yep. So as far as player props in this one, they do have the Bengals listed because we know what the offense is going to be. But for me, I'm not putting any chips on Brandon Allen to throw the ball to anybody here, even if
Drew Sample is like the one guy who's been getting the looks the last couple of weeks, but like
people are hitting this one at minus 118 here.
People are tapping it. I mean, Tyler Boyd 50. I mean, just like you can't feel good about these. AJ Green is like a ghost. The ball's thrown his way and just like it.
Don't bet on the Bengals this week if you like the. I mean, this game's a 10.5 favorite for the Dolphins here, and that's like pretty crazy because if that's Ryan Fitzpatrick, I feel really good about that. If it's Tua, I don't know.
Right? It's crazy. It's crazy.
I'm doing a live show tonight at 6:00 p.m. and the reason I'm doing it at 6 is I'm just hoping we get that news dump before 5 o'clock. And
yeah, that'd be nice.
Get all the Shefty bombs that we need. So I'll probably go over some things later tonight.
What's crazy is if you told a Miami fan like you're double-digit favorites in a game in 2020, what happened? And they would have been like, "Oh, Tua, he must be an all-star. Like he must be having a Herbert season." Like
we're playing the Jets.
Yeah, right.
That's probably an instance there. But let's move on to the Jaguars and the Vikings. I'm very interested in this one because I'm a weird Mike Glennon stan. I think he's actually bringing some stability to the offense. And I rewatched that game because I got the NFL ticket, and you can actually rewatch the games up until like Wednesday or Thursday. And I watched it. I know, and he played against the Browns, which he played really well against the Browns. I have really good vibes for Ryan Tannehill and the Titans offense this weekend. But Mike Glennon going up against the Vikings, this was a defense that we were targeting heavily with their pass secondary. And they get DJ Chark back. They get Chris Conley back.
Are they back? Are we confirmed on these guys now?
Let me pull up this practice reports here. They did. I know. I'm pretty sure yesterday they said DJ Chark is going to play. He got a full practice in yesterday.
Nice. Okay.
Limited, so he's questionable. But I mean, he got limited all week, so he's trending towards playing. And then I didn't see Laviska or Keelan Cole on it. So there's a good chance that they get at least their top 3 back for sure. And Chris Conley was their 4th for the most part.
Yeah.
So I think. I mean, you get the top 3. James Robinson's playing really well. I do think the Jaguars can be a little bit stingy here for the Vikings. And just out of curiosity, I just wanted to see what we have for.
I think we have all this one in. Mike Glennon 240, dude. You gotta like what you're seeing there.
So I mean, let me just pull up
with getting Chark and Conley back. Colin Johnson. Deep dynasty stash. He's not going to do you anything if you in a redraft. You're hoping maybe Chark would be out, but dynasty leagues.
The man hit 235 last week against Cleveland. He went 20 for 30. This is without DJ Chark and Conley. Throws for 2 touchdowns, 235, and we're looking right at 239.5 here. This one's in Minnesota, and so that's in a dome. That's a fast track. It feels dirty. It feels really dirty to bet on Mike Glennon, but I like to look where other people don't look. So I'm interested in it. As far as, let me just see his touchdown props real quick. He's got 1.5 and it's plus 130. Can he hit 2?
Are you in there? I think he can hit 2, dude. I mean, I think Kirk's been one of the hottest quarterbacks in the league, which is weird to say. I don't like that. But if Cousins is scoring points, Glennon's going to be throwing the ball and 2 touchdowns.
I mean, James Robinson can catch touchdowns. He's been doing that.
Oh, James Robinson does everything, man.
Before we talk about these rushing props, we got a question real quick from Patrick here. Do we start Jarvis Landry or Michael Thomas? We were kind of talking up Jarvis Landry just a few minutes ago, and he's really the only game in town. The man just had a huge game. Michael Thomas with Taysom Hill going up against Atlanta. Atlanta's defense is playing much better. I know they kind of got, beat up pretty badly 2 weeks ago when they played the Saints, but this is a different game. That one's in Atlanta. Are you feeling the Jarvis Landry in a game where the over/under is 53 for a point goal? Whereas here, let me just quick check the Saints Falcons game.
It's low, man. It's gonna be a grinder.
So I think I'm going with Landry in this one just because he's coming off a really hot game. They only have 2 receivers basically healthy. This should be a really good target game for him. And Tennessee's defense, man. If you guys haven't checked out my the fantasy fellowships, we got our week start sit charts here. I've been doing something new this year where I actually add in something that's really helpful for me, but I like to show the matchups here. Tennessee's defense is garbage. They've been bright green matchups all maybe the last month and a half, and they're actually really bad against the secondary here. They allow 41.6 PPR points to the receiver group alone, which ranks 29. So I do think Jarvis Landry over Michael Thomas makes sense. Would you co-sign on that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of where are the check mark on my pro cons. I mean, where's the pro for Michael Thomas? Talent is the only pro I see. Jarvis Landry has the quarterback. He's got the match
share, maybe.
He has the targets. I mean, he's getting more targets. I mean, Michael Thomas in 2 wins. What has he done in these last 2 wins? He hasn't done anything.
We got the spectrum set. We have the low end and the high end.
Right.
So, and with Jarvis Landry, I know like they're both very low volume passing offenses, but at least Landry with 11 targets last weekend, you have some hope here. The week before, not very good though. 2 targets. That game was against Philadelphia, where they didn't really need to throw that game. So I think you're probably somewhere in this maybe. At worst, I think you're going to see 5 to 6 targets in a game where we expect it to be high scoring, a lot of throwing. So I think I'm going to lean with Landry in this one.
I'll take the over on. What are you going to set the over under on Landry catches this week or Landry targets this week?
8.5.
I was thinking 8.5 as well. I'll take the over on that.
So he's got a good chance at least 6 catches probably. And then he's also wondering, do we consider Chark? I'm not sure if he's asking if those are the 3 options. Do we just pick one? I do think I would rank Chark over Michael Thomas. The Minnesota Vikings defense, as we just looked at the Titans here. Let me just pull up the Vikings here. They're not much. They're actually worse. They allow 1 more point per game here at 42.6. I think Chark and Landry, both guys, really good options here. But Mike Glennon, man, he's got nothing to lose. He's got a good deep ball, and Chark. I mean, we saw Colin Johnson go for 4 for 96 and a touchdown. DJ Chark, that was his role that the rookie actually played really well in. So for me, I think I'm going to go Chark, Landry, Thomas.
I'll still take Landry over Chark.
Just because of a more of a safety player.
I think continuity. Mike Glennon still is not quite.
Baker versus.
It's a little unknown. I think it's a matchup where the Cleveland's more desperate for the win. Probably gonna be a higher scoring game.
I don't. It's only a 2-point difference here for the line.
Yeah,
that's close.
I'll take the Browns to score more points than the Jags. I think more target concentration.
So
I think it's close. I think Michael Thomas is the clear 3rd option, which is the wildest statement of 2020. Jarvis Landry, Chark, or Michael Thomas, and you're telling me.
So I guess while we're talking about the Jaguars and the Vikings here, we have some rushing numbers here. We got 5.5 for Mike Glennon. That's plus 115. I'm curious, did he scramble at all last week against the Browns here? What do you think he got? He got 6 yards. He got 6. No, we're not taking
it's
that.
Plus 115, so I mean, I can't blame you if you throw a 10 around that.
But is that going to be one of our top 8, 10, our top bets that we're going to put on our website for people to look at?
I don't know, man. We have such a limited pool of bets right now.
It's dirty.
So,
dirty.
I think I'll take – all right, Mike Glennon's passing over-under or his rushing over-under?
We'll consider one of those. I think I'm optimistic about the passing over just because he's getting DJ Chark back and he's got some other weapons there.
Yeah, 5.5 at plus 115. I like that.
Robinson here at 77.5 rushing yards because we know he's going to get the ball at least. They're going to rush it with him at least 20 times. And
he's a safety net.
3.5 yard per carry average. The dude went for 128, 73 against Pittsburgh. He put 73 down against Pittsburgh and 109 against Green Bay, 99 against Houston, 119 against the Chargers. Do we just kind of fall into this? That's a low number here, 77.5. I guess while we're here, let me just pull up. And I'm just curious what the Vikings have been allowing for yardages to lead backs.
It's probably pretty. It's a lot more than Pittsburgh, I'll tell you that much.
So the total was what, 77.5?
Yeah,
okay.
77.5.
Last weekend, Mike Davis, Trenton Cannon, Rodney Smith. I would probably feel really good if Christian McCaffrey was in that game. He would have hit that. But the week before, Zeke Elliott, 103. Tony Pollard busted one off for 60. So 160 yards between 2 guys there. I think that's a really good telling sign.
Look at that Chicago game.
That game, without Monty, that one was just a crapshoot there. Swift did it 64 yards on 13 attempts.
Yeah, 13 carries.
Hitting 13 attempts in the first half.
Yep.
So that feels really good. Jamal Williams, 16 for 75. That feels really good. Todd Gurley, we don't really have any confidence in the Atlanta rushing game, but he had 20 carries for 47 yards. That's a little alarming there.
Yeah.
Chris Carson just 8 for – that was the game he got hurt, right?
Yeah.
Carson in the Minnesota game, I think he had to leave early.
8 carries, so he would have got there.
And then Dave Johnson, 16 for 63. King Henry, 119. Jonathan Taylor hits 101. I think I might lean in. Like, I think I'd rather feel more comfortable betting on Robinson's rushing over here than taking Glennon. Just give me the best player in this game.
Yeah, I wish we had a combo, but we don't get receiving plus rushing yards anymore from DK.
They removed it?
I haven't seen it in the last 3 weeks, man. So
they must not have a good read on those then.
They ain't got a good read on shit. They need to hire some new people to make these lines. But
are we ignoring Dalvin Cook at 107.5? We are typically an optimistic bunch where we want to take the over. Is the 107.5 a little optimistic though? Like, is that worth an under consideration?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think it just depends on what his health status. I mean, Mike's. We got one coach saying he's busted up. We got one coach saying he's fine. It's one of those. It's a weird situation. Too much ambiguity for me.
In terms of rushing yards, the Jaguars have allowed the 6th most to running backs here, a little over 100 per game. If we just quick look and see what they've been allowing, Nick Chubb hit 144 in this team with 19 carries. Kareem Hunt had 62 by himself there. James Conner 89. That's really the best comparison I think for Nick Chubb in this game for Dalvin Cook. DeAndre Swift hit 116. Joe Mixon 151. So there is some really good opportunity here for him to hit that. I just think I'd rather.
I'll stay away from that for now.
Got a question real quick from Patrick Sig here. Naheem Hines or Raheem Mostert? I think this one's really simple for me. Give me Raheem Mostert.
Yep, give me the volume.
I just know what I'm getting. The volume. This game's against Buffalo. If we look really quickly here, let me just scroll down here. These are in the start-sit charts on the fantasyfellowship.com. Buffalo not very great against the run here. They do allow 24.5 points basically to the running backs alone. I have a really good feeling about Raheem Mostert. It was his first game back last week. Gets his conditioning in against the Rams. He also scores a touchdown, and that was a stingy defense from the Rams too. So they're going up against a softer opponent here in Buffalo. I like Naheem Hines, but you got this huge range of outcomes where you're either going to get 5 or you're going to get probably 20. I think I feel safest with Raheem Mostert there. Jesse, do you have any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, you hit that one good.
So as far as, I mean, if we're interested in this Jaguars Vikings game, man, this one we're kind of into this one for some reason. So we got a couple receiving lines here. I guess everything's uploaded. So we see Justin Jefferson chilling at 67.5. You got Adam Thielen 68.5. Justin Jefferson, man, we put money on him last week. We were off by 3 yards. He hit 70 total. But as we've seen with him, sometimes it just takes him one play to hit that. So that's a pretty low mark. That interests me. Do you have any feelings towards Jefferson or Adam Thielen?
Yeah, so I think we should go back to I think it's fair to say that we can go back to that Justin Jefferson well. I mean,
we can't be wrong, can we?
Yeah, I mean, Adam Thielen's back, but we've seen Adam Thielen tends to be more of like that. He's the high-value guy. He gets the touchdown looks. He gets to move the sticks looks, and then Jefferson's the chunk yardage guy. He was so close, like you said last week, so close. One more catch.
In the 2 games that he played with Thielen, 86 yards in Week 11, 135 against Chicago, 64 against Detroit. I don't know what happened against – that was the game where Kirk Cousins threw like 12 times against Green Bay, and then 166. I think this is all looking pretty good for Justin Jefferson for me. I mean, again, Adam Thielen was out, but you have this range of targets of 5 to 10, and Kirk Cousins is playing some good football right now. And as you enter, you submit Adam Thielen back into the lineup, defenses have to account for that. You can't double team one or the other, really. So I think Justin Jefferson, not only is he a lower by 1 point here, but he's also got momentum. And you see Thielen at minus 124. People are hitting that button, but not the Jefferson one. So I kind of like Curly Jefferson this week.
Give me the Jefferson button. Hey, I will be back in 5 minutes.
5 minutes?
Keep it rolling.
Yeah, if you guys got any questions in the chat room, fire them up. We're just kind of looking at some lines here. We've been talking quite a bit about the Jaguars and the Vikings. This game does have a really high implied point total at 51. Only I think one game has more points. So there's probably going to be a lot of fantasy points to have in this one. As far as receiving overs, DJ Chark's just at 55.5. And the reason I'm interested in him is let's pull up this Jaguars Browns game from last weekend. Mike Glennon threw the ball for 235 yards in this one. Again, this was just last week. Mike Glennon's first start. He's going up against the Minnesota Vikings this week. So you see Glennon goes 20 of 35, 235, and 2 touchdowns. Without DJ Chark, his leading receiver was the rookie Colin Johnson, who basically just filled in for the DJ Chark role. He had 8 targets, 4 for 96, and a touchdown. So if you're liking DJ Chark against one of the easier opponents as far as allowing fantasy points to the wide receivers, let me just go back to this number real quick here. This is on the fantasyfellowship.com, but we do see the Minnesota Vikings are basically the 30th ranked team against the wide receivers in PPR points. So you see 42.6 total points there. This could be a really nice spot for DJ Chark, I think, especially since we saw some success. And Mike Glennon's probably going to favor him in targets. You see 8 targets for the leading Colin Johnson last weekend. But Keelan Cole, Laviska Shenault, these guys are all healthy here. James Robinson also had 5 receptions, 31 yards on 6 targets from Glennon. So he's not afraid to check down to James Robinson. And you see Robinson's only at 25.5 yards here, which really intrigues me. We just talked about Robinson's 77.5 rushing yards, but he's also got 25.5 receiving yards. So I think Jesse and I are going to have to put our heads together and really figure out some of these bets. But for now, I think at 55.5, I mean, the leading receiver for the Jacksonville Jaguars to just be 55.5. Again, we see last weekend, Colin Johnson hits 96. Keelan Cole's up there with 44. I think I might put DJ Chark on this list. And then we're probably going to talk about James Robinson. If I go back here, because we kind of just make our list here and we just check some names and we talk about these later, but I'm going to hit James Robinson over 77.5. So if you guys have any more questions on the Jaguars-Vikings game, we can hit those in the comments. Otherwise, I'm going to move on and start to get into the Saints and this Falcons game. We've been kind of looking basically at these over-unders, implied point totals here. This is at 46, really low for a traditional Saints-Falcons game. But because this is a Taysom Hill offense, I mean, they're just not throwing the ball very much. And in terms of passing yards here, or let me hit passing yards real quick. So they got Matt Ryan, 264.5. Taysom Hill at 189.5. This is just too risky for me to bet on Taysom Hill there. If I'm going to do any kind of money bet on Taysom Hill, it's going to be probably to score a touchdown. And we'll look at his rushing yards in a second here. But since we're looking at Matt Ryan, 264.5, let's just pull up because we saw this game 2 weeks ago. Atlanta did play in New Orleans, and they lost 24-9. What did Matt Ryan do here? 232, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Again, this was the game where Julio played like just maybe the first quarter. He goes 2 for 39 here. So I do think we're seeing Julio trending towards playing this weekend, which is a really, really good sign. Calvin Ridley had a good game, 5 for 90 in this one. Russell Gage, 7 for 58. Essentially, you like Russell Gage whenever Julio or Ridley are out just because we know he's going to get targets. But if you're telling me we get a healthy Ridley, a healthy Julio, and then Hayden Hurst is healthy as well, I think this could be, again, this is the worst case scenario for the Falcons offense. And Matt Ryan, 232, and they're basically saying 264 is his over-under. I just want to pull up Matt Ryan's numbers from the last few weeks before I talk more about this. So Matt Ryan, 185, 232, and then he was 284, 281, and then he had some really good games here. But again, this game's at home. So they just torched the Raiders 43-6 last week, and they just kind of didn't have to do much. But we do see the last 2 home games, he's been over that number, 284, 338, 230, 26. I don't really know that much there. But yeah, I guess I'm seeing some comments here. Ask away, Harris. Is Carson for Mostert a good trade? You would get Carson. I kind of see that as basically similar backs. I do like Chris Carson. I like the Seattle offense, and Mostert kind of had. I guess both guys are pretty injury prone as well. They've been in and out of the lineups all season. As far as a good trade or not, I'm gonna first look at the schedule here for San Francisco. They play Buffalo. That's a really good matchup there. They play Washington. We'll see about that. But then they're going to play the Cowboys and the Cardinals for the fantasy playoffs. This looks like maybe 3 out of 4 games here that I really like our guy Raheem Mostert. And then if we just quick check out the Seattle schedule, the Giants, solid matchup. Jets, solid matchup. This Washington team, they kind of limit running backs. I don't know if you guys remember what Ezekiel Elliott was able to not do on Thanksgiving, but really tough matchup. I guess both teams do play Washington, so that's a tough matchup there. And the Rams, they're going to limit probably the yards for the Seahawks, but I do think that there's a good opportunity for a touchdown there. I think with Raheem Mostert, we know that when Raheem Mostert is healthy, he is like the kind of the clear guy. Chris Carson's also kind of he also has to deal with a little bit with Carlos Hyde at the moment. So I think for this one, it's a preference call. If you are more of a fan of Carson, I'm totally cool with you wanting Carson in that one. But to me, it's kind of a push, and it's more of a preference move. For me, I think I like Raheem Mostert just because that's a more run centric offense where that's how they're going to move the ball. And Mostert looked pretty good last weekend against the Rams, so I do like that. We got Harris asking here, and this is for the playoffs. So this is a rest of season schedule. J.D. McKissic or Noah Fant PPR. So assuming you're going to plug one of these guys into the flex spot, J.D. McKissic, Noah Fant. I mean, I don't have a lot of confidence in this Broncos offense right now. Let's just take a look quick at the Broncos schedule the rest of the way here. So Chiefs, Panthers, Bills, Chargers. The Bills and Chargers, I think they're both pretty low in terms of allowing tight end points. Let me double check this real quick. But I do think McKissic, he didn't have a great game last week, but that was because they were just able to control that game from the start. They didn't really need to throw the ball with McKissic, so they just leaned into the run there. But against the tight ends, you see Buffalo here. They are the third worst. Chargers are the ninth worst, so that's a really good matchup for potential Noah Fant points. But Fant's also kind of dinged up right now. I don't really have a lot of trust in our guy Drew Lock right now either. So let's just look at the Washington football schedule for comparison here. Steelers, that should be a game where they have to throw the ball a little bit more than they're comfortable with. The 49ers, this could be a kind of grinded out game where I could see McKissic kind of being favored as well. Seattle Seahawks and Washington here. In terms of that could go either way here. I do think Seattle should be able to score, so maybe more passing there. And this one should favor Antonio Gibson. So I think I'm going to lean. I guess let me just see what. I don't think I trust the Broncos offense. I think I'm going to go with J.D. McKissic in this one. If Julio plays, should I start him over Landry and Chark? I think so. Give me Julio in that one for sure. I would hate it if I benched Julio and then you see that 8 for 122 and 2 touchdown kind of thing going on. But for the most part here, this is the player prop show. So I want to get back to the Saints and the Falcons. I will be doing another show tonight if you guys have more start sit questions at 6 o'clock Central Time tonight. So that's when I'm going to be able, because I'm also waiting on a bunch of news and we're in reports here. So 6 o'clock will be a better opportunity for start sit questions. As far as player props here, though, I'm kind of interested in this Matt Ryan 264.5 over. I think he could have a good game, especially if Julio Jones does play. I really like Matt Ryan and the Falcons passing offense in this one. In terms of rushing yards, we do see they got Taysom Hill at 45.5. I don't know if I feel great about that. Alvin Kamara 58.5. Latavius Murray 42.5. It looks like they're waiting on Todd Gurley to be declared in or out because we don't see any Atlanta Falcons over-unders there. And then for receiving yards, they got Calvin Ridley in there, but they don't have Julio yet. So as far as this looks, Calvin Ridley at 64.5. I really like Calvin Ridley. And to be honest, I like Calvin Ridley even if Julio plays. We've seen those two play really good together. And again, this one's in Atlanta. So I think when Jesse gets back, we'll talk a little bit more about that and kind of double back here. But I'm just going to check Calvin Ridley, 64.5. Let's just pull up and see what he's been doing the last couple games here. So last weekend without Julio, he goes 5 for 90 or 6 for 50. So that's a weird low game here. But again, they were up 40. I mean, they won 43-6. They did not need to throw the ball as much as they did. 5 for 90 against the Saints earlier this year. I think I'm interested in that low line of 64.5 there. So we talked about all those there. Let's go back and look at the game lines here. So we got the Lions and the Chicago Bears. This one, it's actually projected to be a low-scoring game, 44.5 here. But I think if you guys have been watching my shows this week, I've been pulling this up quite a bit. And damn it, can't hit it. So there's a website that I really like called StatMuse. And it's like, as it says here, ask about a player, game, or record. So I'm going to type in Mitchell Trubisky versus Lions, and then I'll just add the word game logs. And Mitch Trubisky this is probably his best opponent in his career. He's had his best games against the Detroit Lions. The last 4 games, he's thrown for 3 touchdowns. He's gone over 300 yards in 2 of these games. And it looks like I can't really see if they won or lost, but again, some of his best work here. He's got 12 touchdowns in 4 games. Just out of curiosity, let's see what the touchdown total passes is for Mitch Trubisky. Because if it's 1.5, I like the over here. I like Mitch Trubisky to probably hit 2 touchdowns. But I also like I really like David Montgomery in this one, because I guess if you guys recall, Detroit Lions are one of the worst teams against the running back in terms of fantasy points here. Let's just look at this real quick. The Lions are they've allowed the most rushing touchdowns. So the Texans and the Lions, they both allowed 14 touchdowns here. The thing with the Lions, though, is that they've also allowed 7 rushing or receiving touchdowns. So 21 combined. That is easily the most touchdowns in the league to running backs here. So the Lions, David Montgomery, that one feels really good. Let's just quick look and see what the touchdown odds are in this one for the Bears, because I have a really good feeling about David Montgomery in this one. He should be pretty heavily favored to score. So David Montgomery at plus 105, we are going to smash this one. David Montgomery, this is probably the hottest pick of the group here at plus 105. Just out of curiosity, if you were to throw a 20 piece at that, you're going to make a $21 bet there. So I feel really good about David Montgomery here, just because everything's pointing to this game being essentially a really good spot for the Bears, the Lions. They got new coaching staff, so they could kind of bounce back a little bit here. But I'm just going to lean into what we've been seeing with this Lions team. They just have not been playing good. We saw Duke Johnson and CJ Prosise score against them last weekend. They both caught touchdowns. And David Montgomery, he was able to score last weekend against Green Bay, a little bit tougher matchup. But again, we did see that the Lions are allowing the most rushing touchdowns. They're also allowing the most receiving touchdowns. And then on top of that, you got Mitch Trubisky throwing 3 touchdowns against the Lions in his last 4 games. So this one feels like one of the locks here. I'm going to lock David Montgomery in to score a touchdown. Must start, probably the easy smash play of the week here. We're also waiting, I guess, on some like the Detroit practice reports. We don't know if DeAndre Swift is going to play. So I'm really hesitant to want to invest in any of my Detroit Lions. Kenny Golladay is probably not playing in this one. I don't even see his name on the list. So, yeah, he's not. Kenny Golladay is out for this one. Allen Robinson at plus 105 is also interesting, because if we like Mitch Trubisky to throw some touchdowns, Allen Robinson would probably be the guy to do that. So I do like I'm very interested in these guys. Since we're looking at it, let's just double check the rushing yards here, see what they got for Montgomery at 61.5. That's at minus 124. So people are hitting this one. They do like the over-under on Montgomery here to hit basically 62 yards. We got Jesse coming back here. Jesse, what do you think the odds are for a David Montgomery touchdown this weekend?
David Montgomery, what do I think the odds are? If I were to set them, I would say
it's plus 105.
Minus 150.
Right now.
Oh, we got to get that one in before it changes.
I was very shocked when I saw that. So I pulled up the stat muse for people, and we looked at the Mitch Trubisky 3 touchdowns in the last 4 games against the Lions, and then I pulled up
Wow,
105. Okay,
plus?
So you throw a 25 piece at that, you're making 26-25 there. So easy double up your money, guys. If you guys play on DraftKings, or if you play DraftKings, I don't live in a legal state, so I use Bovada. You got to find some other website. So if you guys are able to play, David Montgomery is probably the one smash play that I don't want to refresh this, because if that's almost too good to be true. And then the other thing that I pulled up here for the people is I showed them that the Detroit Lions have allowed the most rushing touchdowns at 14 on the season. And then they've also allowed the most receiving touchdowns to running backs. So they've allowed a total of 21 touchdowns just to the running backs in 11 games. So and we were talking, I would probably put a couple dollars on Montgomery to score 2 touchdowns in this one.
What's that at?
So is there to score plus 2 touchdowns here? Let me just scroll on down. So David Montgomery at plus 525.
That's reasonable.
What would that win? You throw a 10 piece on that, you're gonna take home $52. So that's basically that's a 5xer. Really good about that. Maybe even if you wanted to just kind of throw a $5 at that, you're 5xing your money with this 525 here. So a really good spot for David Montgomery here. I'm not going to click on that, but for sure you're going to see on our website in the link below where we have our player props, you're going to see David Montgomery probably be the number one bet on our website here. I did kind of brisk over the Falcons Saints game. Nothing really stuck out. I liked Calvin Ridley. Let me get back to the receiving yards here. I'm assuming Julio Jones plays, right?
Yes. As of yesterday's practice, he says he didn't feel anything bad. He feels good. He was able to run every route he wanted. So that's usually good enough for Julio to play.
So knowing that Calvin Ridley and Julio are probably going to play, what do you want the Matt Ryan passing yards line to be for you to bet the over? Off the top of your head here.
Off the top of my head, I think New Orleans defense is coming on hot, but I would say around 250, 260, I'd probably be taking the over.
It's right at the sweet spot there. So
64.5.
Instead of probably betting into that, I do think Calvin Ridley at 64.5 does intrigue me. Again, let me just double check that. Again, Matt Ryan at 264.5. So, and people are kind of leaning into that one at minus 109.
I wonder if they pounded that before Julio news came out, and they were thinking if Julio's out, we'll take advantage of this line. I don't know. I think with Julio, I think he's first the Saints in his career.
This one's in.
He never had 2 bad games. Is there a season where he's had 2 bad games against New Orleans?
I think Atlanta's coming in with some momentum. This team is playing for their coach Raheem Morris. They want to keep him around. And then you factor in this in a game where they got beat 24-9 2 weeks ago. He still put up 232, and that's without Julio Jones basically for 3 quarters. Julio caught 2 for 39 in that game before he exited. And Atlanta, man, they had a get right game last weekend against the Raiders. They're feeling good.
This is a different team.
This is not the same team from 2 weeks ago. 264.5. I'm intrigued with that. So if you had to take one, are you taking Matt Ryan 264.5? That way you get both Ridley and Julio, or do you want to just take the Ridley 64.5, and then maybe we can also look at the Julio over when it does come out?
64.5 feels like a good number for Calvin Ridley this week.
Yep. So I did. I
probably lean that way.
Put that on the site. I don't know if I feel great about it. There also was another one here that while you're away, I did click on DJ Chark. He's at 55.5, man.
Clicked on DJ Chark.
He's something to think about. I know we're 0-1 on DJ Chark bets recently, but I mean if I tell you DJ Chark is going to get 9 targets, is he hitting 55.5?
Yes.
How many targets do you think Colin Johnson got last week as the leading receiver on the outside?
I'm going to guess he got 9 targets.
Got 8.
Yeah, that's an interesting one.
55.5. DJ Chark can do that in maybe 3 catches, average a little 20 yards per catch there. And again, it's Vikings. It's on the road. We'll see about that. I think if I'm going to take a Jaguar, though, I do like James Robinson at 77.5. But I don't know. This is not a Jaguar show, so we probably talk too much about them there. Yeah. In terms of looking back at the schedule here, we did just kind of cover the Lions and the Bears. I did hit that Mitch Trubisky. Okay, what do you think the passing touchdown over is for Mitch Trubisky?
It's probably at 1.5.
Is that 1.5?
Is it? It's probably like minus 112.
Let me hit that real quick. Minus 112, 1.5. Are you would you rather go in on that, or would you rather just put more into the David Montgomery plus 105 any touchdown?
I could just put my whole card on David Montgomery touchdown this week.
Wow.
Montgomery, if you're going to take one bet this week, Montgomery at plus 105 is.
That might be the only bet we put on the site. We're just going to put it down 8 times. You just hit that one. If there was
a mega smash.
Can you think about another bet since we've been doing this show that we've felt better about? Like if there was any bet to come true.
I love Taysom Hill's TDs the last 2 weeks. We pounded those. Those felt really good. The Antonio Gibson touchdowns have felt really good. And Montgomery here feels really good. Like those are.
They don't give us the Chicago Bears, Detroit Lions passing yards here for Trubisky or Stafford. In terms of rushing yards, they got Monty at 61.5. People are kind of leaning into that one. I'd rather take the touchdown. 15.5 for Trubisky. Not really interested there. In terms of receiving yards, only Montgomery with 20.5. So I think for the Chicago Bears, fall into that stupid David Montgomery touchdown line. That's almost too good to be true at this point. Seattle and the New York Giants here. Just quick takeaways. Is there any matchups or certain players that you think are going to be in really good spots? Just even like in terms of like fantasy football in general. Like who do you think is going to be, I guess, the leading touchdown guys, the leading yards producers? Any positive reads here?
Sure. I mean, I just quick take on the Giants is Colt McCoy. It's a lot of unknown. It's probably more Evan Ingram. And then on the Seahawks side of the ball, I think it's time to see Chris Carson kind of lead your fantasy squads coming into the playoffs. His run is, last week he was limited. It was intentional. Carroll said, we're going to get Carson the ball more, and I think it's going to be time to shine.
Ooh. Since you're talking about Carson right now, we did have a question in here from the chat room from Patrick. He asked, is Carson or for Mostert a good trade? He would give Carson. For the rest of the season, I kind of told him it's a push. I feel really good about both guys. They're both kind of injury prone as well, but you're also getting the better offense with Seattle. But then with Mostert, that's a run heavy offense where you kind of know, that's what's going to happen there. But I guess I told him if you are into Carson, I don't really have a preference one way or the other. I like both players. I know you're also a Carson guy, so do you feel the same way there?
I think I lean Carson myself slightly, just like you said, better offense. And I think the Seattle is going to go back to the run game a little bit.
We're seeing hints at this, the last 2 games, we're seeing hints at this being more of a run-heavy offense.
And even if Carson, isn't getting as much work as Mostert, I think he scores more touchdowns than Mostert.
Again, better offense.
So, and then I just looked at Carson's TD odds for this week, and it's plus 115. So do with that what you will.
I guess
they got the receivers at minus. The Giants are decent against the run, right?
The Giants' perspective, Sterling Shepard, man, he's been over 5 catches. He's got so ignoring his week 2 here that I have on the screen against Chicago, the dude's caught more than 6 balls every game. And in terms of a PPR play, I really like him. He's got a really high safe floor of double digits. So before I get into, because I really don't like the Giants at all, even when Gallman to score, I'm kind of nervous about that. So I don't see any receptions for this game, unfortunately. But I would be interested if they set that Sterling Shepard line a little low. If it's 5.5, I'm really liking Colt McCoy, Colt McCoy is a see it, throw it kind of player. He's not going to throw people open. He's not going to make anticipation throws. He's going to hit Evan Ingram and Sterling Shepard like on quick slant, essentially.
Yeah. And it is Seattle. So remember,
we've been hitting Seattle all year.
They're better, but is Carlos Dunlap officially out for this game?
It's looking not great here. Let me just pull that up. I don't think he practiced all week. Typically, you want at least one limited practice in from your guy. He did not practice again all week. Foot. But also you see Trey
Flowers
doubtful.
Interesting. So yeah, when Carlos Dunlap and Jamal Adams both came back, that was a huge boost to Seattle. And we saw some good weeks for the defense. Carlos Dunlap will obviously take a hit because he opened their pass rush up, which just makes the secondary better. With no pass rush and a good Giants offensive line, Colt McCoy might have some time back there to kind of make the right throw. Like you said, he's a see it, throw it. So, I like where your head was at thinking Shepard, Ingram.
I guess in terms of player props in this game, we got nothing. We got Russell Wilson for rushing at 25, whatever. For receiving yards real quick while we're here. DK Metcalf, 77.5. Do you just fall into this? Like he's outside of like Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, DK is on. He's on one right now, man. 77.5 yards against the Giants. I know James Bradbury is decent, but I just feel like DK Metcalf playing really good football. Tyler Lockett 59.5. Is it the Lockett game? Apparently the odds, he's at minus 125. People are liking the Lockett line here, but I have a hard time ignoring Metcalf at 57.5 when he's been probably over that in like all but 2 games this year.
Bradbury or not, DK can do anything against anyone except apparently Patrick Peterson.
He got Peterson for a touchdown.
Yeah, he got him for a touchdown, but I mean, still, look at the game compared to his other weeks.
Okay, so we're seeing 3 games on the season here under those totals here. I guess, yes, Patrick Peterson held him below that 77.5 line, and Jalen Ramsey got him here. But, man, we just talked about this Seattle team going to a more run-heavy mentality. But Metcalf just took the target share last weekend. He just gobbled everything up. And, man, the way he's playing, I think I'm interested in the 77.5.
This last week when who's the defensive coordinator for the Eagles, Jim Schwartz.
Jim Schwartz.
He basically gave Metcalf a compliment in saying he's not Calvin Johnson yet. And like when I read the full quote, I'm like, damn, like this. So basically, I mean, Jim, he was there for Calvin Johnson. He saw it firsthand. I mean that's high praise, but DK he took it as like a diss, and I think that is the kind of drive and confidence and ambition you want in like superstars and Michael Jordan, all these guys who are superstars. That's the attitude you need.
Aaron Rodgers is another player that you take Jordan Love, he's doing middle fingers to the Packers organization right now and saying that kid's gonna sit for a while. Let the boy watch. And with DK Metcalf, he's talked about this a lot, where he wants to show he was taken in the last pick of the 2nd round, which means basically every team in the league had a shot to take him, and nobody wanted him except Seattle. So he's on this FU tour right now, and he's making his rounds. I think he's coming to collect. It's at home against the Giants. It seems really easy for me to just keep rolling with some of these hot players. Before we get any farther here, we got a question from our guy, Stephen Drakes. What's going on, Stephen? Thanks for hanging out on this Saturday afternoon. Would you start Myles Gaskin or Kenyon Drake? I know this one is a good question for you because you are a Kenyon Drake owner in a few leagues. So with Myles Gaskin, we know that the Dolphins are pretty banged up at running back. They just got Patrick Laird, who's not really a running back. He's more of a glorified fullback, a receiving fullback. So Kenyon Drake, you got to be optimistic about those rushing touchdowns last weekend. I do think they're a little bit nervous with Kyler Murray, so I don't really see a lot of upside for rushing touchdowns for Murray at this moment. And Kenyon Drake, they get in close, really good chance at scoring a touchdown. Any thoughts there?
Yeah, I kind of backed into Drake in a few leagues and trades, and it's worked out well the last couple of weeks. Like you said, that Murray shoulder injury is really hurting him a lot. Not getting the rushing touchdowns, which then you look at, all right, who benefits? Kenyon Drake's benefiting. Gaston's coming back his first week back. As I mentioned, though, he has been practicing in full the last couple of weeks, so he's ready to go, and he's ready to take on a 100% of the snaps. I don't see anyone there. Maybe Patrick Laird dispels him for a little bit, but Gaston's in the full workload, and it's against a much weaker opponent.
You're going against the Bengals, man.
Yeah, so
if Gaskin's in, I'm doing Gaskin. I think it's pretty simple. And then we got one more from Patrick here. Justin Herbert versus Josh Allen. Both guys have top 5 upside this weekend.
You need a super flex league.
You need a super. That's the best answer. You got to play super flex league. That's a hell of a quarterback tandem. You would look like a genius in the super flex league. But this is a 1 QB league, or maybe it is, and maybe these are your 2nd and 3rd QBs, which would be insane. But Justin Herbert going up against Bill Belichick, that makes me a little bit shy there. But then you also got Josh Allen going against this revamped San Francisco, a healthy San Francisco 49ers defense with Richard Sherman, who's probably going to see a good amount of Stephon Diggs, probably also going to see Jason Verrett on Gabriel Davis. I think it might be a Cole Beasley game, but I'm not super optimistic about both players. I do think Justin Herbert maybe at home against the Patriots, I could see some good things there. But any thoughts on Allen versus Herbert here?
It's a really tough one. You have 2 really good quarterbacks in not the best matchups, but not the worst matchups. I'd probably lean Justin Herbert as well at home against a slightly, a defense that's been more exposed than they have in the years past.
So in terms of beautiful, in
There
terms
you go. I mean, that's
out of the quarterback, they're right next to each other. I'm not sure what if you could tell us what format you're playing in. I'm just going to filter by ESPN here because I know that's 4-point passing touchdowns.
mhm.
And then that's where you see, again, Patriots ranked 26, 49ers 24th. It's a difference of 0.6 points. I guess in terms of quarterbacks against the Patriots the last couple games here, Kyler Murray, not himself here, but Deshaun Watson had a blow up. Lamar Jackson had a blow up. Joe Flacco had a blow up.
It's been bad the last couple of weeks.
Man, I don't know. I have this feeling, man, the 49ers, I think they're going to make the playoffs. I have a feeling right now where San Francisco, they got that really crucial bye week a couple weeks ago. They got Sherman back. They got Mostert back. They got Debo and Ayuk back. There's whispers of Jimmy Garoppolo and George Kittle coming back. I think that team, again, I think this one's in San Francisco, which means it's in Arizona. I just think San Francisco right now is not a team that I want to bet against. So I think I'm going to roll with Herbert, who's got Eckler, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Hunter Henry. I think that's where I'm going to fall into on that side there.
I would agree. I think I was in my head. I'm thinking, how do the Chargers win this game? It's a dump off to Eckler, and Herbert's going to benefit from that.
16 targets last week. What the hell?
Yeah,
16 targets here. So I guess we're going on about a little over an hour here. Do you have maybe 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes?
I'm open, man. I'm open for the afternoon.
Ooh, let's do another hour.
Let's go till 6 o'clock.
Hour. Let's crack some beers.
I could throw a little Bailey's in my coffee.
I'm fresh out of coffee. I'm probably hanging out with Josh in a couple hours here, so we'll probably do some day drinking. But anyways,
I feel you.
Got some time to plan to hang out here.
We got some time, baby.
Let's just roll in. Like, I'm gonna hit refresh here real quick because I want to see what everything that DraftKings Sportsbook has to offer. I don't know. What are some should we just? We've been kind of on a good touchdown bet lately here, and it's difficult to hit on a player's rushing, passing, receiving overs, things like that. But for some reason, we've had a pretty good read in terms of touchdowns, and we've been hitting those a little bit more consistently. I'm just going to scroll all the way to the bottom here, and let's just kind of work our way up. We do have Buffalo Bills, San Francisco 49ers. We technically don't – usually when we do this show, it's always a Saturday show. We don't really put bets in for Monday night or Sunday night games. But someone's going to score in Buffalo Bills 49ers game. Who's it going to be?
Whew. We got all plus odds. I mean, you got to like Raheem Mostert if they get to the red zone.
Smash Allen here, plus 175.
Yeah, we liked him last week, and he came through for us. That's plus 170. That's even better odds. I think the 49ers might be better prepared to handle the Josh Allen.
Yeah, linebackers are fast.
So I kind of like those Buffalo running backs there, 225. Those seem like some good value.
What about Mostert at plus 105? If we like Montgomery to score, and again, Mostert was able to score from pretty far out against the Rams, who are one of the best defenses. I'm interested in Mostert. I have a pretty good feeling that if the 49ers score, say they score 3 touchdowns, I would bet Raheem gets one of those. And then if you're looking at the receivers, Deebo Samuel at plus 190, he saw 13 targets last week. I know. And then I guess if we think about Tre'Davious White,
Ayuk is back. That kind of
Ayuk is back, so that hurts. Ayuk's got some really good odds at 275 here. But if you think about how the Bills are going to play this offense straight up, and the 49ers, the way Kyle Shanahan schemes his players open, you're not going to see Tre'Davious White shadow, Debo or Ayuk all game. Like they just do such a good job creatively to get their guys in different spots and line them up in different spaces where they're going to get him the ball. So I could see Deebo Samuel having a good game. But as far as who's going to score in this one, Raheem Mostert makes the most sense. Again, he's plus 105. And I guess anybody else for Buffalo side, I think you're taking a risk here, whether it's Cole Beasley, Stephon Diggs, Josh Allen. Those would be my top 3. But again, Zach Moss, maybe it's a Zach Moss kind of, banger touchdown in at the 5.
Zach tends to get those goal line looks, right? So, I'm going to pivot off Josh Allen getting the end zone. I might go over to Moss for 225. Those seem like pretty good odds. Like you said, though, Mostert, it's a bad Bills rush defense. They're just going to give him the rock, and he'll probably get in at least once.
I'm interested real quick in let's see what Buffalo has been doing in terms of allowing touchdowns.
These DK rushing touchdown odds are kind of nice this week.
Yeah, I think this is just from the looking at it now. I think the touchdown odds have been very appealing here. But the Buffalo Bills have allowed 10 rushing touchdowns, so that's really good for Raheem Mostert. Against the 49ers here, they've only allowed 6 rushing touchdowns. They've also allowed 3 receiving touchdowns to running backs, so that's kind of interesting there. I don't really have a good read on if it's going to be Mostert or Singletary. If one were to catch a touchdown, I'd say it's Singletary. One's to run it, it's going to be Zach Moss. I guess if you had to pick one guy to score here, I think it's pretty simple for me. I'm going to stay away from Buffalo. I'm going to go with Raheem Mostert. And
yeah, I think that's a fair.
Any more thoughts on that one? I kind of want to skip Washington-Pittsburgh game just because there's a couple injuries. We're still waiting on reports there. The one guy that is probably going to be a favorite to score is going to be Antonio Gibson here at plus 140. Can he do it again?
He's on a big old TD streak right now. How many touchdowns does he have in his last 5 games? It's 7 or 8. It's pretty crazy. If there's going to be a team to stop him, it's going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yep. They're a pass funnel. So the question is, does Washington get to that, inside the 5 and Gibson can kind of sneak his way in there? That's the question. And people are liking Washington for the upset. I feel like the hype is kind of growing a little out of control here. So when that happens, I tend to kind of go the other way and think the Steelers are just going to be able to handle it.
Yeah, so I'm kind of cool with skipping over that game.
Yeah.
And, I do want to get to this one question here from Patrick Sig. Does he get George Kittle just so nobody else can get him for the playoffs? He already has Kelsey. The reports that I've read say George Kittle has an opportunity to come back in Week 15. It's likely Week 16. So if you think someone might add him and potentially play him against you in the fantasy championship, especially if you have an IR spot right now, it makes sense to. I don't know if you need to hold them on if you don't have an IR spot. But Jesse, if you are Patrick here, do you just add Kittle to kind of block?
I think if you have an open IR spot, yes.
And I guess, you'd have to have a guy that you're just not going to use. If it's someone on your bench and I'm just trying to think of a name right now. If it's a backup running back.
Maybe if you had a Duke Johnson or something.
Duke Johnson, something like that. Or even at this point, Devin Singletary. Would you rather stash Singletary or Kittle? That's a question there. But that gets a little messy there. So anything in this, I guess if we pivot back to the Broncos-Chiefs game, Tyreek Hill, heavy favorite here at minus 155. Kelsey, 125, minus 125. I'm going to skip this game. I don't really feel great about it.
Yeah, it's going to be a Chiefs blowout. So
this one can be fun. Packers-Eagles. Devontae Adams at minus 155. He's going to score once, maybe twice, maybe 3 times with a banged-up Darius Slay with a calf injury.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it's an Aaron Jones? I know we're playing against each other here in a game where you have to win, and I don't need to win. But we haven't seen Aaron Jones score a touchdown in 2 games. It does feel like Aaron Jones at minus 134. I don't like these odds here. If I was to bet on Devontae Adams to score, it's going to be at the plus 2 touchdowns. But also the Packers, the way they play, they're going to come out hot. Another thing that I found out this weekend is that the Packers, they dominate the first half. You saw this firsthand with the Colts game. The Packers are a losing team in the second halves of their season. I think they're 2-9 in the second half. If you just look at the second halves, they are 2-9, which means the Eagles, Miles Sanders here at plus 140.
I like that a lot.
Dallas Goedert at plus 325. Zach Ertz, 325. If there's going to be any Eagle to score, it's going to be one of those 3. But 325 for Goddard, holy, that's some good odds here. But Miles Sanders at plus 140, we haven't seen him have a touchdown in a while. It might have been a couple weeks. Let me just pull that up real quick. But do you have any thoughts here on how the Eagles can make this an interesting game in Green Bay?
It's Miles Sanders, man. You get Sanders going against Packers, and it could be brutal. But
since week 5.
Yeah, it's been a weird season. Look at his rushes, his averages, man. He's just not getting the ball. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. He's not getting as many targets. He's having drop issues. So that's something to watch out for. But they need to get him more involved. It's simple as that. If they want to win the division, feature Miles Sanders. So this is a get-right week for that. Against a very bad Packers rush defense. We saw David Montgomery have some fun last week. As far as Aaron Jones goes, I think the thing with Green Bay is that LaFleur has no reason to use him, and if you can save him for the playoffs and just kind of let him run wild.
That's kind of what I've been talking about. I've been talking about this a lot all week, basically saying Packers they're going to make the playoffs, and this is also a take for Alvin Kamara too. Why should Sean Payton and Matt LaFleur run Aaron Jones and Alvin Kamara 20+? Why should they run him into the ground right now?
They have quality backups.
And you have bruising backups, Jamal Williams and Latavius Murray, guys that are made for December football, that can run the ball, play really good football when it's cold, and are just tough to tackle. Like, these guys they're going to run between the tackles and they're going to smash you. So Jamal Williams at plus 285, he's on a little touchdown streak here. He scored in back-to-back games as well. But I would feel pretty good about the Packers scoring probably 4 touchdowns in this one. One of them is going to be a running back, and then the way Rodgers is playing football, man, everyone's getting touchdowns
Right.
In the passing game, and because you have to respect the Aaron Jones, the Jamal Williams run game.
This is a good DFS stat game for me.
Definitely pay up for Devontae probably.
Alan Lazard has been looking good. I think Lazard is the clear 2. I don't think,
Do you like Lazard here at plus 210?
I don't hate it. I definitely don't hate it. The question is, will they need to use him enough? And how's that? What's that? He got banged with the helmet to the chest. Is he okay on that? Because I know the core injury is what he originally held him out for a while, and then he kind of took a big jab right to his chest.
Limited practice all week. I haven't heard anything negative about him not playing. I think if there was a rumor that he was going to be not playing, we would have heard that already.
Fair.
But before we go any farther, we got a quick question from Steven Drakes here.
What's going on, Steven?
So I think this was last night we were hanging out, and I decided Devontae Booker over Kenyon Drake. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would take that for sure.
So now he's asking Myles Gaskin over Kareem Hunt.
Oh boy!
In a game we like Cleveland's offense against Tennessee, but also, again, if Myles Gaskin's activated, they only have one other back active on the roster. It's against Cincinnati. And here's the thing. If we get confirmation that, yes, Ryan Fitzpatrick's in, Myles Gaskin's in, give me Myles Gaskin. I think that's really simple.
The reason why I take Gaskin is I just think that the outcomes for him are comparable to Hunt, but he's getting more looks. It's one of those things where he's getting more catches. Hunt probably needs 2 touchdowns to outscore Gaskin. So unless, Chubb goes down.
Chubb is looking so good right now. Chubb.
Dude, he's a beast.
We're going to go Gaskin, and we're going to go Devontae Booker here, Steven. So thanks for the question. Hopefully we are right on that one. I do feel pretty good. I guess the good news with that is it looks like you got 4 really good running backs.
Right.
So you're not looking at a 5-point game from anybody there. I think everything looks pretty decent. But again, Booker and Gaskin are probably the jewels in that group. But I guess
Drake has the lowest floor there. So
right. But back to this Packers-Eagles game. We're not going to take Devontae Adams to score a touchdown at minus 155. I'm not going to take Aaron Jones at minus 134. There's better odds to bet on. But Sanders at plus 140, we have seen Green Bay allow a lot of running back points here. Just out of curiosity, I want to pull up and see just how many touchdowns they've allowed to the running backs. So it looks like 11 rushing touchdowns.
5
receiving, so 16 total touchdowns. That's more than 1 per game.
Man,
Sanders is due. Should we put it on the list?
Dude, look at these. We have Chris Carson plus 115 to score. We have Sanders plus 140 to score. We have Montgomery plus 105 to score. Mostert plus 105 to score. This is where the value's at this week for me.
We might be turning into a touchdown prop show.
If they're going to give us, if they're not giving us the games that we want to bet on. The Browns, the Titans.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if they're not going to give us those games, Giants with Sterling Shepard, we love that. We would have loved that this week.
Take advantage of these touchdown props.
These are lead backs.
David Montgomery plus 105.
These are lead backs with favorable matchups. Eagles are not going to beat the Packers. That said, the Packers. How do you get to the Packers? You rush the ball. So, I mean, these are good matchups. These are not like tough matchups for these running backs. That's just where the value. Hey, we're gonna go where the value's at. We're not gonna force jam in receivers or, that's what we're here for, man.
Question:
We're here to win money.
Carson Wentz throws a touchdown. Who's catching it?
Outside those running backs, it's probably gonna be Goddard, man. That dude has been getting pounded with targets.
He's had 7 catches in back-to-back games. I think over 70 yards in back-to-back games, touchdowns in back-to-back games.
Yeah, Ertz is probably back, but that said, Ertz in the beginning of the season when he was healthy, he looked like poop.
So the issue, though, is Green Bay's defense. It's not really one to take advantage of besides running backs. If I just show you real quick here.
Quarterbacks. Look at this.
Fantasy points per game. They got 3 out of 4 red matchups here, and they're all top 10.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the tight end points. Only 9.2 tight end points. I'm optimistic about Goddard.
How many tight end touchdowns have they allowed? I bet you it's not more than.
What do you got? How many? I would say 2.
I was going to say over under 2.5. I was thinking 3 in my head, so I'll take the over on that.
Okay, so you got 3. I got 2. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. How low can we go? Packers at 3. Dang it.
Hey.
Dang it. Okay, so they've allowed 3 touchdowns. Let's just out of curiosity, let's see who they've been allowing some. I mean, first filter by PPR, but you also have to think about the way the Eagles operate on offense. Their tight ends are basically receivers, so it's a little bit different here. You did see Jimmy Graham 6.2, Trey Burton 10.5, Eifert nothing really there, Dwelly 8.2, Irv Smith. Vikings don't use a consistent tight end. Texans don't use a consistent tight end. Rob Gronkowski is the outlier here.
That was the one.
Essentially, you see a TJ Hawkinson. I would put, at this point in the game, I would put Goddard in kind of the same cup as a TJ Hawkinson, where they are the leading, basically the best receivers on their teams at the moment. No Kenny Galladay, no alpha receiver in Philadelphia. So you're probably looking at like a 9 to 10 point game from Goddard if he doesnn't score a touchdown. That makes sense?
I mean, so they're good against the tight end, but when you look at the schedule, it hasn't been a fantastic. It's not like they're playing really good.
They've been avoiding him. And if Hawkinson can get a 10.2, if Hurst can get a 9.1, again, we mentioned that the Packers are a losing team in the second half. If you just look at the points allowed in the second half, the Packers are 2-9. So they're a first half team. They do allow teams to score points in the second half.
We're going to see some more Jalen Hurts this week.
I don't know if you want to put Hurts into this situation, man. Like I would like to see more Hurts, but
I mean, if the Packers are blowing, let's say it's 28-10 at halftime.
Yeah.
You throwing Hurts in there, let him have some fun.
It depends. I mean, the problem though is Carson Wentz has been the most sacked quarterback in the league.
Right.
You're putting Jalen Hurts back there, a guy that you took in the second round. If Wentz can't do it, I mean, what's
I mean, to be fair to Wentz, I mean, that O-line has been one of the worst O-lines. It's been banged up all year, so it's not even a credit to the players. It's just been
3 opening day starters, I believe.
Yes. Yeah. Peters has been banged up, and I mean, he's 35, 36. Like, he's their best offensive lineman, and he's just.
And they're also a half game out of the NFC East division lead.
So they're trying to win. I mean, like,
how much are they paying Carson Wentz? I don't think
they
bench Carson Wentz yet. If anything, maybe they give Jalen Hurts a 2-game trial at the end of the year to start. But for now, I just think they got to go with Wentz. Maybe if anything, they get Hurts a little bit more opportunity with maybe 5 passing attempts or something like that, where he just kind of gets eased in.
Yeah, the interesting thing is Hurts is a guy drafted by this management, so they have to feel if Wentz is not the guy, they got to see what they have in Hurts before they get canned.
Writing's on the wall, but I guess maybe if because we haven't done this in a while, but an extra spicy, risky pick for a touchdown. I like Goddard at 325. I don't feel great about it, but if you throw just out of curiosity, you throw a 5-piece at that, you're making 15.25 there. So interesting bet. I'm not going to check it, but as far as other touchdowns here, do you feel anything in the Rams-Cardinals game here? We can't trust the running backs. We can't trust. We really can't trust Goff. Murray's been inconsistent.
How far down is Chase Edmonds on this list?
Did he die? Plus 400?
Oh, man. I think I don't know, a Chase Edmonds receiving touchdown does not feel out of the cards this week. I think the Cardinals this is a make or break game. You mentioned the 49ers are going to make the playoffs. If they make the playoffs, it's because the Cardinals tanked.
And I talked about this last night. The loser of this game, I don't think is going to make the playoffs.
Right.
You got Minnesota against Jacksonville coming up. You got the Chicago Bears against Detroit. Then you got the 49ers. All three of those teams likely to win and be 6-6. If the Cardinals lose, they're 6-6. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, you got this wide open race for the 17 wild card. It could be a lot of fun. It looks like Chase Edmonds really hasn't had much success against the Rams in the past. But while I'm here, I kind of hinted at this to you off the air before we started, and it was the Bob Woods and the Cooper Kupp show against the Cardinals. So I'm just typing in Robert Woods versus Cardinals here. So let's look at these game logs. Last year, December 29th, he goes 7 for 67 and a touchdown. The other game that year, 13 catches for 172. Beast. That's a 30 burger in PPR leagues.
That's nice.
2018, 6 for 89 and a touchdown. 2018 again, 6 for 81. 2017, he only had one game against the Cardinals here. He goes 5 for 59. And then one game with even Buffalo, he had 6 for 51. So he's never had less than 50 yards in a game against the Cardinals. Last year, he was 67 and 172. 2018, he was over 80 yards in both games. That's while we're here and we've been liking the touchdown odds. I just want to see if they have anything in for the Rams receiving props here. They do. They got Bob Woods at 64.5. Did I sell you on Robert Woods enough here? Do we like the over here?
Yeah, I think I'm in, man. Because, I mean, Peterson's not really going to line up on one guy in this matchup. He's just going to, Kupp, Woods, he's going to be kind of swapping back and forth.
And then while I'm here, I was doing this in last night's show, but Cooper Kupp, 5 career games here. He goes 7 for 99 last year, and he gets a touchdown. The other game last year, 6 for 65 and a touchdown. So back-to-back touchdowns in games last year. 2018, he got hurt that year, only had one game. He goes 6 for 63. Look at the efficiency of these targets in the reception.
Yeah, man. That's
2017, 2 games. Rookie year, Cooper Kupp, 5 for 68, 4 for 51, and a touchdown. And they got Robert Woods at 64.5. They got Cooper Kupp 63.5. People are betting into this one at minus 125.
Pivot, man. Woods is probably the better bet. Both guys are probably great for fantasy this week. You're going to get some nice floors out of these guys for sure.
And I guess while we're here,
what have the scores been on these games, these Rams versus Cardinals games?
Yeah, we'll pop into that. But okay, look at these numbers by Jared Goff here. 319 yards, 3 touchdowns. 424, 2 touchdowns. Bad game here. 216 and a touchdown. 354 and a touchdown. So the last 4 games against the Arizona Cardinals, he's been over 300 in 3 out of 4. He's hit a 400 game. It looks like he's thrown a touchdown in every game and a total of 7 touchdowns in 4 games. So and look at the rate.
Over 100 rating in 4 straight with that almost 5 straight.
I wonder if I can click on this. So the Rams won 31-24. The Cardinals were easily defeated 34-7. Interesting. I don't know why I changed it like that, honest.
Mixing it up.
Now here, Cardinals barely put up a fight. Again, they're switching it up. So the Rams have the number here for the Cardinals. But again, this is not – I mean, the Cardinals are, 34-0 in that one.
So we're talking about some serious Rams domination.
Hold them. Like, not even close. 32-16.
Oh, my gosh. They're getting spanked.
The Jared Goff, yeah, he's 6-0 against these guys lately. Can we go one
undefeated?
They got smashed. No.
There it is.
Smashed.
2017.
Oh,
so 6-1. Jared Goff is 6-1
in his career against this team. We should probably look at some Jared Goff, some over-unders here, huh? For the kids. 272. If we like Bob Trees and we like Cooper Kupp, 272.
I think I like Bob Woods at 64.5. That's my line.
Okay, if they put this touchdown line at 1.5, are you taking the over here?
Ooh.
We can't trust these running back. Oh, no, not at minus 210.
Yeah.
Stay away.
I got it juiced.
Stay away. So I think we hit that one up pretty good here.
So are we fading the Cardinals this week in fantasy?
I am kind of fading the Cardinals the rest of the season.
We talked about this. We had a league where there's a trade here. We trade up into the playoffs in one of our home leagues, and somebody got rid of David Montgomery for DeAndre Hopkins. They gave up some more, but that's the main focus. And I think we talked about if I had David Montgomery, I don't think I'd want Hopkins straight up for this playoff run.
I have the schedule pulled up here. They're playing the Rams, the Giants, the Eagles, the 49ers.
I mean, the Eagles are probably the one matchup there that Hopkins could probably have some fun.
Right.
Giants will be interesting.
I guess the good news is that these are 3 home games for the Cardinals here. But again, you kind of have a dinged up Kyler Murray right now. Larry Fitzgerald, I think he's kind of like if you look at the Cardinals offense as a whole, he's just like this little gear that's like kind of down here at the bottom that remove that. And it's like things are like clogging, you know?
Yeah. It's part of the ecosystem, man. You need to have the flies.
You need that veteran
in order for the frogs to feast.
And all of a sudden, like Christian Kirk, he's hard to trust. DeAndre Hopkins has scored 10 points in 3 straight games.
Mm-hmm.
Kenyon Drake would be the best player of the group here.
If the Cardinals are to win this week, how do they do it?
This actually brought up a good thing that I wanted to look at here. The Rams are favored by 2.5 here. I don't know if you feel anything about betting into, over-unders or game lines, but the Rams to win by a field goal, I think the Rams are going to win this game.
Yeah. Minus 125, that's not terrible, I think. I mean, the smart sharps agree with us on this one. I think the Rams are probably going to have some fun. I mean,
do we want to get funky and put a LA Rams minus 2.5 on the website? We haven't picked an individual game, a line.
Did we? I think the only one we did a Packers one. I think when they were right? Did we do that Packers one early in the season? It was like the Packers they were like -3 against a team that I'm pretty sure they smoked.
Smoked sausages. No, but I'm pretty sure I remember what we were talking. I think I really fell into that one.
Yeah, I think maybe it wasn't on the website.
But yeah, we didn't put anything. We haven't put any individual game lines into there. But I do feel pretty good about the LA Rams here, the way that defense is playing. They're coming off a loss to the 49ers here. They really can't afford another loss here. We've seen Jared Goff dominance against this team lately. A lot of positive things for the Rams, I guess, heading into this. But maybe we just stay away. Maybe we just ignore it. And if we'll take the silent victory on the side here, and maybe we'll be more intrigued next time. I do think these two teams play each other one more time yet. Week 17. Maybe we just dumped a whole bank account into that game later. See.
That could be an interesting game.
I guess we're going on an hour and 28 minutes here. Maybe 2 minutes rapid fire. We do have a pretty good list of bets here. We only got 9 bets on the slip.
Do we have Carson? Do we have Chris Carson's touchdown on that list?
Did throw Chris Carson on here. We got him on there. Touchdowns. We're gonna get Montgomery, Sanders, Chris Carson. These guys are all plus odds here. If we had to pick maybe 1 or 2 more touchdown odds, before we even look at it, who's a not super obvious guy that you think is going to score tomorrow? Can it be, and why could it be Jonathan Taylor?
Yeah, I mentioned at the top of the show that this could be a get right game for JT. I think if the Colts really want to do some damage, they need to get JT going. I mean, great running back. They need to have that balance. Naheem Hines is a great change of pace guy, but it's really nice when you can put a running back in there and not have the defense know what you're going to do. And JT's kind of that all-purpose potential guy. So I can see a touchdown there for JT. My biggest issue is at the goal line, they do so many weird things. They get Trey Burton going. They get Hines in there. Jordan Wilkins sometimes gets in there. So, Michael Pittman's doing some weird things now.
So what, a half a unit maybe on like it's kind of like a lukewarm kind of feeling about it. Or maybe
it's like a medium conviction.
Maybe we trust him for fantasy this week, but we don't really buy into it yet. At plus 100.
Yeah. I mean, when you can get Carson at plus 115 or Montgomery at plus 105.
Give me that all day.
The value doesn't feel there.
I'm a Denzel Mims homer. He's at plus 225. He's yet to score a touchdown. We've seen rookie receivers, when they pop, they pop. They're playing against the Raiders this week. And the Raiders are kind of, they just got whooped last weekend by the Falcons. Is there any chance that Denzel Mims catches his first touchdown? I did want to pull up some other things too, because they had 2 end zone shots to him last weekend, so they're trying to get him to score. The odds are plus 225. I'm not going to recommend it to anybody, but would it surprise you if Mims scores tomorrow?
No, I think as I was saying earlier, I think if the Jets have a shot in this game, if they can get that offense going early, and if they're going to do that, Mims is going to be the key that unlocks things.
So
we have yet to see that kind of like breakout game.
Jonathan Abram, starting safety, out. Isaiah Johnson, backup cornerback, questionable, limited. Trayvon Mullen, questionable with an illness. He did not practice on Friday. So they're missing some key secondary pieces right now. Even if it's just practice, these guys are coming in not exactly 100%. And I did want to just pull up Denzel Mims. In terms of fantasy production, he's been hovering around 10 points per game.
Mm-hmm.
And I did the math, and I kind of projected his numbers out to a full 16-game sample size. And he's going to be a player we talk about next year, I think, especially if it's Trevor Lawrence. But we see 67, 71, 62. These yards are kind of creeping up.
He's getting 8 targets.
Mm-hmm. They're making sure he gets opportunity. And the other thing, too, I guess with the word opportunity, the dude's on the field a lot. Like, we're talking 90% plus snap counts. I know it's not a great offense to bet into, but I do think Denzel Mims, and I'm curious. Well, I'll probably pull that up later on the side. But Mims, I'm hopeful for a touchdown there. In terms of Cleveland Browns, Tennessee Titans, we didn't talk about this. A.J. Brown, minus 106, 286 for Henry. Nick Chubb, they're all heavy favorites here. We did kind of talk up Austin Hooper a little bit here, but does anything stick out in this quick Browns-Titans game? In the game that's got the most implied point total, too.
Yeah, I mean, if you're asking – if you're talking about risky, maybe we throw a risky, spicy John Heffernan shout-out TD of the week. I think Hooper or Adam Humphries, man. I don't know why Adam Humphries is calling my name, but
got a little itch there for Adam.
I think one of those two kind of feels. Yeah, if you were to tell me one of those two scores a touchdown, I would not be shocked at all.
All right, what about Myles Gaskin? Plus 110. If he's in, woo!
That's another bell cow back against a bad defense. What is DK doing right now? They're giving us free money. That's free money.
Okay, so last weekend with Ryan Fitzpatrick, I think I texted you Sunday morning, Devontae Parker.
Mm-hmm.
Plus 120 to score here. If Fitzpatrick's in, is this a moneymaker at plus 120? Do you like Gaskin or Parker one more than the other here?
Yeah, for some reason these touchdown bets I tend to favor running backs just because I think wide receiver touchdowns a little bit more unpredictable. That said, who else is catching the touchdown in Miami? Parker, like Fitzpatrick, just like he locks onto Parker.
James Robinson,
oh my
dude, what is going on? This is not a player prop show anymore. This is a touchdown prop show. We are all in on running back touchdowns. We got James Robinson plus 115 to score. Let's just reminisce and let's just appreciate James Robinson. I don't think enough people do it. The dude's been one of the best running, not named Dalvin Cook, not named McCaffrey, not named Henry. This dude, the 4th or 5th best running back in the league right now.
It's early to call it, but I mean, he's probably the next Arian Foster as far as undrafted running backs go.
He's on that. Yeah, he's on that line, I think, for sure. I'm trying to think of any other running back that
they have no reason not to. He's signed for 3 years as an undrafted guy. Is it 2-year or 3-year contract? I don't know what these. Sometimes these undrafted guys sign for less years. There's no reason. They have no reason not to give him 3 years.
$2.29 million.
Dude, they're gonna literally just
They're gonna back
the ball for the next
summer, I think. Pay this kid,
dude. Give him some money. Look at that.
He's here's another. I like trends in games where he scores a touchdown. He always scores another one the next week. So you see back week 2, he scores 2 against Miami. So back-to-back games touchdowns. Starting in week 6, he catches a touchdown against Detroit. He also, against the Chargers, he catches one and he runs one, and then he strings another game against Houston. So he's kind of a streaky touchdown guy. Going up here, nothing to lose here against the Vikings. Just out of curiosity, how many touchdowns do you think the Minnesota Vikings have allowed to running backs?
I wouldn't be surprised if it was double digits.
What the heck? Only 6. Only 1 receiving. So we're
quite a bit of yards. So the yards are there, but
we're going against the grain here on the touchdown call.
I mean, if you think the Jaguars score, it's probably James Robinson.
Yeah.
I feel better about the other ones, but that said, I would not be surprised if he gets into the end zone.
All right, so I guess we should probably just keep looking at these a little bit harder. Latavius Murray plus 225. Taysom Hill, they're beating that up to minus 143. We can't really.
We got 2 weeks with plus Taysom Hill odds, and we pounded it both times. So hopefully you bet that one.
But is this Latavius Murray? He had 2 touchdowns last weekend. Alvin Kamara hasn't scored. Alvin Kamara did score against the Falcons 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what to do with him. Latavius Murray at plus 225. I wouldn't throw like a big amount at it, but it's pretty good odds, I think, for Latavius to find the end zone.
And it feels pretty good. I mean, it's one of those things where you can take Taysom if you want, but why not take the odds and pivot?
David Montgomery, we're running that one in. Chris Carson, we're going to run that one in.
You think Wayne finds the end zone again? I just don't think I can trust Giants this week.
Uncle Wayne at plus 115? No thanks. Streaks are meant to end. Kenyon Drake plus 140.
It's pretty big. Well, if you're asking me, Sanders or Drake at plus 140.
All right. How about this? Bob Woods, Cooper Kupp. Which one does it?
Mm-hmm.
Both same odds, plus 145. It's going to happen.
Kupp likes to find the end zone, man.
Should we pick one of them? Is it going to be Kupp? Kupp scored in both games last year.
Yeah,
he's going to be the guy that's less on Patrick Peterson, I believe. So I think in this case we have what? We have one more bet to put on the slip. Kupp, Woods. What do you like?
It's probably Kupp.
Cooper, Kupp. Okay, we just filled up 12 bets here. We also clicked on Miles Sanders at plus 140. What the F? Clyde Edwards here at plus 110.
Edwards has got this illness thing. Did he practice yesterday? Do we have any news on that yet?
I'm benching Clyde Edwards for Devontae Booker in my keeper league.
Clyde Edwards
back days.
Is Le'Veon Bell gonna get a starting spot?
He's plus what? Where did he go? Where did little Le'Veon go? Plus 110. I think DraftKings knows something that we don't. They probably feel like Clyde Edwards isn't going to play.
If Clyde Edwards doesn't play, I'll be curious to see if they put props up for Le'Veon Bell.
All right, so I'll put in. I've been kind of doing like a little caveat below each week's things. If Clyde Edwards-Helaire is out, we're probably going to lean into this Le'Veon Bell touchdown. But I'm assuming as soon as we hear Clyde Edwards is out, they're going to shift Le'Veon Bell's numbers up pretty hardcore. So run, don't walk. If you want to bet on Le'Veon Bell to score a touchdown and Clyde Edwards is out. I guess I don't know. I think we've got everything covered here pretty well. Raheem Mostert plus 105 to score.
We like that, but that's our Monday night game if we're feeling good about how we did on Sunday, right?
Yeah, we'll shout out that one when we get to it. But I think we did enough here, man. This was the longest. This is officially the longest live stream that I've ever done. So I want to thank you for your time, Jesse. This was
it was
fun.
A
lot of good
time. We covered some things. If Le'Veon Bell is on your waiver wire and you're still watching this and you got a spot, go and scoop him up because Denver is not that great of a team. And I think Bell finds the end zone if no Clyde Edwards.
In this game earlier in the year, the Chiefs won 43-16. Clyde Edwards did score, but Mahomes didn't even have to do much. They put Chad Henne in, and Chad Henne ran for a touchdown. So Broncos are just a kind of a shell right now, dead team walking. Cecil Lammey thinks that John Elway might be given the boot here after the season. They think they like Vic Fangio to stay around as the coach and maybe figure out some things on offense. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. The Broncos, man, not exactly where you want to be sitting for betting or fantasy, I think, at the moment right now.
No. Drew Lock's back, but what does that mean? You
can't do it. But I don't know. We're hitting 140 here on the time clock here. Any final thoughts here?
It's week 13. If you're on the line for a playoff spot, good luck to you. I hope you win, make the playoffs. I'm facing this guy this week. If I win, I got a decent shot. If I lose, I'm out. So, Bauer, be sweet to me.
I might flip up and hit a couple wrong buttons. I don't know. Maybe I'll.
This guy is 11-1 in our home league. One of the best regular seasons I've ever seen.
The problem is, though, like, my backups are still favored to score.
You got Devontae Booker as, your backups are strong. You got Sterling Shepard. Your team was deep this year. You drafted right. You hit on most of your picks. You went running back early, and you hit on all those mid receivers. I mean, that's the formula.
So I'll humor you here. I'll put in my worst options. We're going to bench Aaron Jones. We're going to bench we'll bench DK Metcalf even. How about that? So I got my you know what? I'll even start 2 tight ends on you. Trey Burton and Dallas Goedert down to 129. I'll mull it over. We'll talk about it later. But I don't know. I think with that, we're going to sign off here. I want to wish everyone, too, good luck. Fantasy football playoff weekend, last weekend in the regular season. If you guys have questions, I will be going live tonight on I'm thinking I might push it back at like 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. If you guys want to hang out with me tonight, I'll go over all the news. You can do start-sit questions. I'll have a little bit more news. There's usually a good news dump on Saturday afternoon, so we should know a little bit more. Like we were just talking about Clyde Edwards. We'll know about Ryan Fitzpatrick, hopefully. So we'll hang out later tonight. I want to thank you guys for hanging out with us on this Saturday afternoon. Get your bets in. I'm going to upload these to the website after this. So good luck. Hope you guys win some money. Hope you win some fantasy games, get to the playoffs. For Jesse, you can follow him on Twitter at @thefellowJGM. You can follow me on Twitter @thefellowKGB. Thank you so much for your time, and enjoy the rest of your day. Peace.